Yo, how's it going, guys? It's Richard Unicorn Caller here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We are back with no news today because basically the same exact thing from yesterday. So decided to give you guys a new video, and this is, drumroll please, a gear build video. I know, which is crazy. We'll just speed run through it, and I'll tell you everything about it. Now this, I'm not sure if we've ever done a gear build video specifically for advanced content. So this includes PvP, doing raids, or even stuff like challenge mode. And this is gonna be a pretty interesting one because, not a whole lot of people really engage in the advanced combat area. I mean, the only thing I usually do is like raids and, challenge mode, or at least I used to do raids. But I do love a good little challenge mode. Don't do PvP though. But I'm going to show you guys the gear build that I have personally for a support build, primarily for the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, but this could also probably work for any other raid or challenge modes depending on what cards you need and a whole bunch of other junk. Most of the raid guides are always going to be the same, and they will always require specific spells so that you can do the specific strategy right. But I wanted to show you guys a little bit about at least what I use, and it's a little, I wouldn't say it's expensive. It's like, I think the robe is a little expensive, but I wanted to show you guys real quick the stat cap. So the first rule for the advanced combat, or advanced content type of gear guide, is the stat caps. So I know a lot of y'all don't really know what stat caps are, or you have like 5 billion storm damage, right? Most of that stuff does not matter whenever you're in, stuff like challenge mode and raids. It will actually get scaled all the way completely back. Now, you can look at specific raid guides, and usually those raid guides will have stat caps implemented in the slides, but you can also just invite the Chemith Discord bot into a Discord server or whatever you're in, and that could actually give you the stat caps right off the bat. It also shows you like mob information and stuff like that. But since we are a life wizard, and the max level as of I'm recording this is level 180, soon we will get the new world, and then there will be new level 190 stat caps. So we are going to be looking directly at life, not storm, not myth, specifically life. And as you can see here, the max HP that you can possibly get for life is 18,837. The maximum accuracy you can have is 56. Maximum mana you can have is like 936 all across the board. And then Pierce 55, damage 201, crit is at 1001. And then the rest of that, like pip conserve, power pip, and the shadow rating, we can kind of ignore for the most part. Your outgoing is going to be set at 168 outgoing. And that's actually the same outgoing for both ice and life. And then the Arc Mastery can be all the way up to 360. And then your resist is all the way up to 75. Ice gets a whopping 91 resist, which is actually pretty impressive. And also, the block is at 1,238. Dude, I need to level up my Ice Wizard, man. That's a lot of resist. 91? Good lord, dude. 91 resist, dude. I know a certain YouTuber could pull that off. Oh my goodness. And also, I want to give a quick little shout out to the one and only Sparkle Skies. Met me in the Wizard101. Katie Miss Dreamer. Give it up for her. Oh, she's a winning construct. But she came in, said hi. Super cool fan. Good to see you. But that is basically the stat caps for life. And you can check out the other stat caps if you want. I know for Storm, it is very hard to get your stat caps at Storm, right? Now, if you are above any of this, it would basically get all the way scaled back. So you kind of want to find a sweet spot with it and kind of find a purpose with it. For life, I rarely attack in challenge mode, but for Buckingham Palace, of course, I had to do that. spam centaur. But yeah, you know, you can definitely do a lot of fun builds with it. So now that we know a little bit about the stat caps and we got a little bit familiar with it, let's go on into the actual gear build so that I can show you guys at least what I specifically run. As a disclaimer, per usual, in every gear build video, you don't have to copy this, you don't have to use it. Most of it is pretty much just like farming, you know, especially farming like New World gear and stuff like that. Like, honestly, you can get most of the stuff pretty much for free if you're someone that plays the game. And you know, it's decent. It's not like the best. I'm sure people have more wild stats out there, but at least it's helped me a lot, especially with the Ghastly Conspiracy raid. But yeah, we'll just go into it. So for starter, the Stitch, the hat, that's from Selenopolis challenge mode. The robe is from Buckingham Palace challenge mode as the little clanker set. And then the boots are from the Crying Sky raid, which is honestly probably one of the harder raids out there. It's a 12-player raid. Yeah, definitely not doing that raid anytime soon. But that's the Stitch design. And then the wand, obviously, is from the Arcanum. You can craft the Xander's focused wand if you want. So let's jump into it. Let me turn on my screen so you don't accidentally see the stats yet. Okay, good. All right, I just had to make sure it didn't pop up. You know, sometimes it pops up a lot. All right, let's just go into gear set number 1, or hat number 1. This is the Fitzhume's Explorer Fedora. This is a pretty good hat to use as a life wizard. Has a decent amount of damage, and a lot of health and pip chance and resist. Specifically 1,568 health, 8% pip chance, 132 crit block, 12 resist, 6 accuracy, 152 life critical, 31 damage, and 5% pierce. So specifically for the pins, you'll get 2 sword pins and then 1 shield pin. Specifically for life, you can get all the way up to like 46% outgoing shield pins, which are really good. So highly recommend for the shield pins that you just get the 46%. This is the level 180 version. Again, you can craft it or get it as a drop, but probably easier just to craft it and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then the sword pins, you can do whatever you want. It might depend on if you want to dual school something or anything like that, but you can definitely be versatile with the sword pins as well. So now that we got the hat figured out, and by the way, you can get this hat for free, even though it is in the pack, specifically the, what was it called? The Forbidden Temple, like the Hidden Temple Gauntlet pack or whatever. But you can farm the Gauntlet, and you can get this pretty easily. It's not really hard to farm the Gauntlet. It's actually super easy. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. I highly recommend it. It also comes with a, I believe that's a stabilized item card, which reduces incoming damage to minus 25%. Most of the time, you probably won't even use this. You know, the stabilized card or auras, just because some mobs don't like auras, depending on the school. I think it's like Ice and Death that really don't like auras or something like that. But you won't use this item card. But still, it's a pretty cool hat. Make sure to see if you can grab that. And now over here for the robe, we got the one and only Falconine armor of Horus. Now, we did a video about when this bundle did come out, the Krakatopia River Palace bundle. I believe it's a $40 bundle, so a little bit on the hefty side. So you do not need this robe at all. This is just a flex robe, meaning, you know, you just like to flex your money around. You do not need this robe. Like I said, most gear builds for the raids will just require you, or at least bare minimum, have you farm the New World gear, and that should basically get you near the stat caps as possible. But this robe is absolutely busted, and I absolutely love it. So this gives us 1,711 max health, 9% pip chance, 6% accuracy, universal accuracy at that, 161 crit block, and 82 critical rating with a plus 21 universal resist, plus 25% outgoing, and plus 5% universal pierce. And it also comes with this item card, Celestial Intervention, which I'm not gonna lie, kind of sucks. I rarely use it. It's still a good card to use, maybe at a low level and all that stuff, but I don't know. I kind of wish that this robe had a similar spell, kind of like the Spooky Carnival outfit, which had the Kiss of Death spell, which obviously is banned now in advanced content, but it's still a pretty cool spell regardless. I kind of wish we could customize the item cards that we have on our gear, but I think that would just be too ridiculously overpowered, and I think KI would somehow figure out a way to break the game even more. But yeah, this is a pretty solid robe, and like I said, you don't have to get this robe. You can even go for like the Fitzhugh robe, which is basically kind of the same thing. It's just not really gonna have any outgoing. I think I also have the same green robe somewhere in one of my banks. But again, you don't have to, buy this robe or anything. There's other alternatives that you can use. But just keep note of the stat caps and how you're trying to basically find that sweet spot, But anyway, I like it. Make sure to check it out if you are ever interested. Alright, so we got the hat and robe. Let's check out the boots. And surprise me, we got the first world item. This is from Castle Darkmoor, or at least the Darkmoor world from 2025. And pretty solid. I like it. It comes with 1,624 max health, 7% pip chance, 212 crit block, 16 resist, 5% life accuracy, 5 life pierce, 32 life damage, and 15 shad rating. It also comes with a shield and also a power and a sword pin. And again, it might depend on if you're trying to dual school something, but regardless, the main thing you want for the shield pin is the mending pins, because that's another plus 46% outgoing. So right off the bat from the boots and the hat, those are 2 plus 46% outgoing pins. And especially in challenge mode, it can definitely help heal your teammates and stuff like that. It definitely honestly does make a really big difference, I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, that's for the boots. It also comes with an item card. This is Starfall. And again, you probably will never use these specific spell cards in raids. Just because, again, the mobs and the bosses have their own rule sets and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's kind of redundant and all that stuff. But still, pretty cool item card if you ever want to try it out. Alright, so now for the wand. This was actually recommended from one of my previous guild members, Larky. And at first, I never even considered using this wand. So for specifics, you definitely want to use any kind of double square socket wand, right? There is a lot of double square socket wands that you could potentially use. And you want that because you can put some health jewels on it. So let's look at the Xander's Focus Staff. This is the revered crafting recipe. Remember, they changed it a couple years ago. If you don't remember, or if you haven't played the game in a while, it does not take the PvP trophies or whatever like that. Like, you don't have to do PvP or anything like that. You can craft this very easily without that specific crafting reagent. But yeah, this actually gives you a bonus of plus 11 energy, which is absolutely, for starters, great. Because I will say this, depending on the raid, I would have to say just most or all the raids will require you to use a lot of energy, such as cantrips like Magic Touch or throwing a bomb. Sorry, choking on my own spit. Or even doing radiances. Especially the radiances. I don't know why the radiances take so much energy. But dude, I mean, this is just a level 1, like level 2 mana radiances, but like the level 8 one does like 60 or 80 energy. It's like ridiculous. You will burn through a lot of energy depending on the raid. I mean, hopefully you don't, but just make sure you have some energy elixirs because it's gonna take a little bit. Now, this also gives 5% fishing luck, which might be good, maybe if you're fishing in Azteca. 3% life, Pierce 40 crit rating for life, 17 life damage, 235 pip conversion, which is actually pretty good. And then, you get that little power pip bonus. And then also you get 2 square sockets. So for the square sockets, I recommend the health jewels. Those are 2 plus 890 max health. And you also get 6 wand hits, specifically 3 for shadow and then 3 for life. Now, most of the time, if I'm doing the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, that is actually perfect, as long as it's not like a Storm wand hit, because you don't want to take your Storm Wizards, Storm Traps. And that also might just depend on what type of like comp or raid guide that you're running. There are a lot of guilds out there that have their own specific raid guides and a lot of customizations and combinations and whatnot. Again, you have to read the guide to see what specific spell cards you need. But regardless, this build is going to be decent overall to kind of reach those stat caps in a sense. And even if there are specific item cards that you need, you can always make some jewels of those item cards, which is actually a good segue to now our Athame. So this Athame, I'm in the cantrip menu. Oh man, the Athame we have right here is probably one of not only just like, I would have to say the best advanced content like Athame, but also probably like one of the best outgoing Athames, besides the one from the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, but I gotta farm the circle opal thing. But this one is busted. So check this out. This is the Sangreen Monster Hide Athame. Now this comes from Darkmoor, again 2025 Darkmoor, level 180 stuff. So it has plus 1,502 max health, 203 max mana, 18% pip chance, 10 damage for universal, and then 10 damage for life. So for a total of like 20 damage. And then the plus 22 outgoing, which is just absolutely busted. For reference, the Dark Women's Dagger, which is like the OG retired level 100 Athame that you got from Morganth. I don't even know if I have it in here. I think I threw it in one of my vaults because that was also one of the goated Athames for outgoing. But this Athame is so good just because it's like an updated Dark Woman's Dagger, and that's why I love it. And then you get a bunch of like jewel sockets for it. You get a circle socket, you get a tier socket, square socket, and a triangle socket. So for the tier socket, I actually had a Stormblade for this. But depending on the pet, you probably won't even need like a Stormblade tier. But you can make all kind of item cards, such as traps or blades, and make the balanced feint or whatever like that. But obviously you can't use feint in advanced content. But for this, I just put this 153 health opal because why not? And then for the circle, I have a plus 8% outgoing. And then for the square, I have a plus 890 max health. And then for the triangle socket, I have a Dark Wind Jewel Amethyst that I will never shatter because they are so hard to get. But they are really good, and it helps Storm Wizards out, do a lot more damage. Highly recommend getting that jewel. And if you do get that jewel, never ever shatter it. It really is a hard, dude. I used to have a ton of them in my jewel vault, and I had to go through so many because I had to keep shattering them over and over and over again when new gear comes out. And I really do wish that KI would add option to where you can pay crowns to not shatter a shatterable jewel. That would be great. Hey, I'll give you 5,000 crowns not to shatter this jewel, dude. That's free money right there. They should hire me, dude. Like, I'm trying to help KI out because I have went through so many of these jewels, and I'm so tired of having to change them out, get a new gear, make more jewels. It's like, it's so like I don't got the resources for that, man. I like went through all of it. But that would be a cool idea. But yes, Dark Wind Amethyst, make sure you keep that. And they also have different other ones, like the Myth one. They have a, I believe, Ice and Fire one as well. But yeah, just I'll never shatter that ever. Like, it's just staying there forever until the game shuts down. I'm not. It's staying there forever. Oh man. So now over here, let's go to the amulet. Now, surprisingly, this is actually kind of an old amulet. So this is the Lively Nightmare amulet, and this is a level 160 amulet. This amulet is busted. Okay, now there are other amulets that you can use. There's a lot of good like tank amulets out there nowadays, but this one is busted. So plus 672 max health, plus 10% universal resist off the amulet alone, plus 180 pip conversion, which is also pretty good, and then plus 62% crit block rating, and then it gives you 2 square sockets, and again, we're putting health sockets on there so we can reach our health caps. And it comes with some item cards, again, that you probably won't even use, like Brace, and then Immolate. Again, you're probably not going to use any of that. But that right there is a pretty good amulet. So now you can farm the Gauntlet, the Nightmare Gauntlet, Nightmare Swamp Gauntlet, or you can buy the packs, or you can use an alternative type of amulet. Now this is the Eternal Inspired Amulet, which is also pretty busted because it even comes with more base health. Just a loss of 2 universal resist, which might not be good for some people that are trying to go for resist builds, but it also comes with 2 of those square sockets, and also a life dispel, which is now banned from advanced combat, so you can't use it no more. And again, probably won't even use it at all to begin with. But this one is also a good, like, kind of like free-to-play-ish kind of amulet. I think the Fitzhume amulet is also pretty decent. It just doesn't come with the double square socket. For me personally, I prioritize the double square socket. Here is another one I have with outgoing pins. But yeah, if it's a double square socket, it's good in my book. But again, it might depend on what you're looking for. But for this build specifically, we using this not only to keep with the health cap, but also the resist cap. All right. So over here we have the rings. Now this, okay, I'm not gonna lie, for the ring, it's tricky because I don't even know how I got this ring. I think I got this ring such a long time ago when the Marleybone Motorist pack came out, and this ring is good. However, I don't even think you can craft this. I think you could craft like a variant of this ring. Like, I think there's actually, let me see. Yeah, I think there's like a variant of the same exact ring I have somewhere. I would have to find it. I think I threw it in one of my... I think I probably threw it in one of my vaults, but this is a pretty solid ring. I'm not gonna lie. So, the Great Inventor's Ring might be a pack, you might have to splurge a little bit, but 740 max health, 168 max mana, 23% pip chance, 80 life critical, 9 life damage, and 14 outgoing. Now it also comes with a tier socket, circle, and a square. For the tier, I have a health jewel, but if you don't want the health jewel, again, you can put some item cards in there, like a Storm Blade, Storm Trap, whatever you want. You can craft those from, like, Selenopolis or Darkmoor or even Wallaroo. You know, they have a bunch of crafting recipes out there, and it's not too hard to craft. And also, for the circle socket, I have a plus 7% outgoing. No, I don't have the 8%. I know how great you guys must have a whole jewel vault full of 8%. Unfortunately, I am not that lucky to have them. I used to have a month, and then I went through all of them. Like I said, I would pay KI an arm and a leg to not have to shadow jewels. Okay? But it's a plus 7%, and guess what? It's going to stay like that for a very long time, because getting those 8%, at least for me, is very difficult. So if you have a plus 8% circle jewel, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. And then for the square socket jewel, again, it's another health because we're trying to reach the health caps. Alright, so now the pet, which is going to be very, very complex. And this is going to depend on the specific raid you're in and what specific stats you need specifically. Now, for me, this has worked for Ghastly a lot, but if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. You don't have to copy this pet. As a matter of fact, this is actually kind of a failed pet because the pet body is terrible. Like, this is a terrible pet body. But we have the Mega Rooted Grimoire. Now, this is a pretty fun pet, right? I had fun making this pet. So, it comes with Spell Proof, Mighty, Ultra Energy, which, by the way, Spell Proof is boosted by the Mighty, so that's a plus 11 Universal Resist. And then we also have Ultra Energy, which gives me plus 20 max energy as well, which is also, again, good when you have to cast so many cantrips for a guild, especially at the raid gate, when you just have to keep casting it over and over and over again. It's like a whole thing. And then we also have the Arc Mastery boost. Now, on some people's screens, when you try to spectate someone, this actually will not pop up. It's like a bug or a visual bug or something like that. But this does go towards your overall stats. It's just a visual thing. And this is a plus 55% Arc Mastery boost. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why would you need Arc Mastery boost for stuff like challenge mode or raids? Well, I'm glad you asked. Remember, they changed the way how Arc Mastery works, so instead of it going against your teammates, it's actually going to go against the enemy. So you want to kind of try and find a sweet spot with your Arc Mastery, or at least go above and beyond against the boss or the mobs, so that you can get that school pip first, and you can get it a lot more quicker, in a sense, before the boss. You're basically battling to see who can get the most Arc Mastery. Now, you might, depending on your role, you might not even need the Arc Mastery pip, because most of the raids, or at least the raid guides, they don't usually use any kind of school pip type of spell, because they're really hard to get school pips, especially in raids, because again, the developers, they made Arc Mastery so convoluted to the point where it's just so annoying. And I'll talk about that when we go to the deck setup and stuff like that. But yes, we have the Arc Mastery boost here. And we also have Ankle Biter, which is probably one of my favorite whale casts in the game. Basically, for 50 pet happiness, your pet can basically summon in a shatter card that will go on the top of your deck. Usually the decks are like 7-card decks, and this will spawn in at the top, so then you could cast this. It's not a 0-pip shatter, it's still just a regular 3-pip shatter, so again, you would need some school pips, or at least 3 pips, in order to cast that, per usual, you know, and that will basically remove 3 shields from the enemy. And you just keep casting this. It will be like a 3-round cooldown or whatever, but you can just keep casting that. It comes in clutch, especially when you're trying to find some shadow treasure cards. You can't find the shadow treasure cards. Highly recommend you get a will cast shatter pet, especially if you're doing something like Ghastly. Now, I'm also not sure if it will require specific tokens to unlock the Ankle Biter talent. I'm not too sure on that. Hopefully not. But 10 out of 10 would highly recommend. And then over here we have a Spell Defying Jewel for my pet, which is a plus 6%, and that is it. Now, obviously, you could theoretically use the Maycast Brace, but that can sometimes trigger in the raid, and sometimes the mobs don't like auras, and blah, blah, blah. So just save yourself the moaning and groaning from your guild, and just go with a Spell Defy Jewel and be lame and call it a day. But again, you can do whatever you want for that, just to try and get to the caps. Alright, so now we are at the mount. Surprisingly, you can choose whatever you want for the mount, for my build specifically. you don't necessarily need a whole lot. I mean, if you wanted to, you can go with the rock mount. In case, I mean, this is just in general for everybody. The rock mount is pretty good. It comes with a plus 3% pip chance, and that might basically get you to like the maximum pip count. And then there's also the Mammoth mini mount. You can also buy that. It used to drop in Polaris, but it doesn't anymore. You can buy that in the Crown shop. It's plus 2% outgoing. Again, it might help you get to that cap. Yeah, I mean, there's also our accuracy pet, the damage pet, not pet, but amount. It really just depends on what you're looking for, you know, but it really doesn't matter for what you use. And honestly, you shouldn't really have to use a stat mount, you know, unless you're doing the whole primeval mount, the Stompy Bronto stat. What was it called? What I used to call them, like, not stat caps. It was like the, stat bonus. Remember stat bonuses? They don't even do that anymore, man. They don't even do those no more. But yeah, I know a lot of people like to run around with the Stompy Brontos and all that stuff, and then the one pet, and that can basically give them like a little bit more damage, right? Alright, so now over here we have Tatiana's Deck of Salvation. And yes, this is all the way from level 100. Now listen. As I said, it's going to depend on the type of raid you're in. But for me personally, this has worked for the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, because that is specifically a level 170 raid, right? Now, you don't have to use this deck. You can literally use any other deck you want. And honestly, it might really depend on the raid, because sometimes you might need that extra triangle slot for something, or maybe you're looking for something else. There really is a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, I can use this one right now. This is the Fitzhume's deck right now. Like, I can use that one. And that could boost my Arc Mastery up even more. But I'll save that until I show you guys why I specifically use this level 100 all the way from 2014, a 10-year deck. I'll show you guys why. But the max spells you can have is 64. Max copies you can have is 7. Max life copies you can have is 10. Your sideboard is at 40. And then it's a plus 60 health. Not a whole lot. 18 life critical. Again, not a whole lot. 2% shadow resist. Not a whole lot. And then a extra pip. And then a square socket, which I put a plus 890 on. And then for elixirs, you can't use any elixirs in advanced modes. So don't even try it. You can't use it. It will just be disabled. Alright. So that is the overall gear build. So we got the deck. We got whatever mount you want. We got the pet. And the pet, again, you can choose whatever you want for the pet. Whatever makes you happy. We got the ring. Whatever makes you happy. Amulet. Athame. Again, like I said, you don't have to copy this entire build. It's just to give you an idea on at least how I used to raid. You know, you got the boots, you got the robe, you got the hat. Let's go over the whole entire stats. Drum roll, please. Before we go, just a reminder about the stat caps, okay? So remember, life stat cap is at 18,000 for level 180. 18,837, 75 resist, and 168 outgoing. That's kind of like the main stat caps that we're looking for, especially as a advanced combat kind of support, you know? You don't have to run it like that. You can do whatever you want. But that's at least for level 180. So when you're doing other type of raids, it will basically scale down to other stat caps. So right now there's like the level 150 stat caps. So if you were to do something like the Dragonspire raid, if you're already at the level 180 stat caps, then you'll already be at the level 150 stat caps as well. You basically have to get to the stat caps for each level so that it can convert properly. Again, it is how the developers have made the game. So keep that in mind. So here are the overall stats. And yes, I have 35 crowns. I'm broke. But over here, we have 20,102 health, which is way over the top. You don't need that much. But when you go into a level 180 raid or level 170, it will just auto scale back to the proper one. And that's pretty much perfect. Like, that's fine. And then for the mana, we have 521, which is also pretty decent. And then for damage, again, it might depend if you're dual schooling or not, but for life, at least we have 109 life damage. Then we have no training points, gold, no crowns, no blue tickets. Our entire energy is at 161, which is actually pretty impressive. Now, our resist is actually at the cap of 76, which is great. Our accuracy is at 17 for life, which is actually perfect because most life spells only require like 10 accuracy and that's it. Like, you really don't need a whole lot of accuracy. And most of the time, some of the mobs and bosses aren't really going to give you like any accuracy debuffs or anything like that. If you want more accuracy, you can definitely get more accuracy, especially if you are trying to go for a dual school specific kind of build. But this is just mainly for supporting. But yeah, pretty cool stuff for accuracy. We're good on that. And then for the critical rating, we have 372, which is actually pretty decent. Then the block rating is at 567. Then the armor piercing for life is at 18%. We have no stun resist because I'm pretty sure they banned most stuns from most of the advanced content. So you don't really need any stun resist. And also they don't make stun resist anymore. I don't know why they still have that stat around. And then for the incoming healing, believe it or not, incoming healing is actually like disabled in advanced content. So you shouldn't go for any incoming healing as well. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just disabled. But outgoing does matter, and it's not disabled. Now, our outgoing is at 168%, which is right on the dot. If you want more, it doesn't matter, because it will just get scaled back to 168, because that is the max cap for life and also ice. So, pretty cool stuff for that. Now, over here, our pip conversion is at 849. Now, pip conversion is actually pretty decent. In some of the raids I've actually conserved a couple of pips here and there doing some odd number spells. So, they're actually not bad to have pip conversion. It's actually pretty decent. Definitely, you know, it's a chance thing, obviously, but it's actually not that bad. And then our power pips, we have 105% power pip, which is perfect. Shadow pip rating is at 105. And then our arc mastery is at 223, which can definitely go way, way up, which I'll show you as we talk about our deck setup. So, do I still have the... Oh, yeah, I still have the deck setup, dude. Oh, the memories. I'm going to miss that raid. The memories. I'm gonna miss that guild and everything. So, over here, this is a bunch of junk. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Richard, this deck setup looks disgusting. It is disgusting, and that's the whole reason why. So, specifically for the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, you're supposed to use the Pinewood deck as a support, because you can maintain a higher arc mastery rating and blah blah blah. You gotta cast a school pip at a certain round, blah blah blah. And I hated that, so I went with this deck, and this deck is pretty good if you have any of the level 180 spells, specifically for the Ghastly Conspiracy raid, because the level 180 spells will actually not pop up in the entire raid, because these are level 180 and that's a level 170 dungeon. So this actually won't pop up, and that will help for your deck efficiency. So even if you have like 300 like arc mastery, you also have to worry about your efficiency. So you have a PvE orb efficiency, which is already at 100, which is pretty easy to do. But you'll notice that our PvP power orb efficiency is at 87%. And that's when it gets a little tricky for raids. And that's when, you know, a lot of the raids you'll see, a lot of people aren't using any of the school pips. which is honestly kind of sad. And another thing is that your sideboard does not go towards the, oh my god, I just spit for a second. Good lord, that was disgusting. Let me swallow for a second. Your sideboard does not go up against your PvP Power Orb deck efficiency, which I also am not a big fan of, but it is what it is. So I'll show you what a 7 deck would look like. So right now, we have it at 87%. So I'll show you right now what it looks like. So right now, we're at 0%, but still for PvE, it's at 100%. So let's say I only need like 7 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Right? And remember, the sideboard does not count towards it. So now, the PvP Power Orb efficiency is at 7%, and it's going to be rough getting the school pips. And that is, I think, another humongous deal breaker for a lot of people that wanted to go raiding but are just never interested, because not only are there stat caps, not only are there banned spells, but also you can't even use half of your spells that even take a school pip, because you're not even going to get a school pip. So I don't know, it just sucks. You know, back in the day, before they patched it, you used to just put in these extracts and then people could just bring it up that way, but then they obviously banned that. And it's like, we're trying to find, the players are trying to find ways to kind of get around this and use the school pips a little bit more efficiently. And it's kind of almost like the developers really don't want you to do school pips at all. Now, if you wanted to use school pips legitly, we would have to set up this entire deck to the complete brim of just junk, and then that would cause you to deck fail, and that would not go well with your guild if you are raiding. We would literally have to fill this up to the brim just to get to 100% efficiency. And now we're at 100%, but you see, it's just a bunch of junk. And again, it's like, I get it. I understand the developer, but at the same time, I don't know. It just kind of kills the vibe for a lot of people. Especially for school pip spell. There's a lot of cool school pip spells out there, but if you can't use it, then, you know, what's kind of the point? But that's just for that deck. Most of the time, they will ask you to use the Pinewood deck. Do I even have it in here? I do not think I have the Pinewood deck in here anymore. I don't think I do. Is that it? No, that's not it. I'll go with the Antique deck, because that's sort of the same thing. So you go with a deck like this, and then again, you could fill it up with junk and you'll get to like 100%. But then if you do that, it literally doesn't have any other additional stats whatsoever. So if you're trying to go for like a raid specific build, you have to check your deck. But if you're going for like a regular challenge mode build, then you can do kind of like whatever you want, especially for challenge mode. Like, let's go back to the Fitzhume now. Where was Fitzhume? Where in the world was Fitzhume? We just had it. Where was it? Oh my god, I'm losing my marbles. Here it is, the Novus Healer deck I got right here. Now, this is a pretty good deck as well. It's the 314 health, 92 crit block, 70 life critical, 1 pip chance, or it gives you an additional pip, and then plus 58 arc mastery, and then it comes with a square socket, plus 890, and then another Starfall item card, which again you probably won't use. And then you can kind of see that our arc mastery actually went up. If you wanted to, you can actually go toward the arc mastery cap. Is it necessary? No, you don't need 306 arc mastery. It's honestly mainly about a little bit of arc mastery, but also kind of keeping in touch with your power orb efficiency. And remember, it will definitely depend on the level of the challenge mode that you're in, or of the raid. Like for Buckingham Palace, you can only use stuff like Centaur. Level 40 and below spells are fine. If it's above level 40, you can't use it. If it doesn't have a level on it and it's not banned, you can still use it. But yeah, for the deck, honestly, it can be whatever you want. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my advanced combat kind of build. I mean, with this deck, our health even went up even more, which, again, you don't really need that. Our critical went up as well. You really don't need it. I actually might save this deck, quite honestly, or this exact gear setup. But, again, it will definitely depend on the type of raid you're in. And, oh, God, was I on the thing the whole time? I hope I wasn't on that for the whole time. My bad. I hope I wasn't on that the whole time. Oh my god. Was I on that the whole time? No.